Hey, Johnnie Roberts, welcome back to another great episode of your podcast. We have been on a roll recently, but before we get on to what we're talking about, how are you doing?
Man, we're doing great, man. Um, just beautiful, man. Summer was just awesome and having a great time. Three grandkids, busy, fun.
That's awesome.
So yeah, man, it's beautiful weather we've had and here we go, man. And let me say this too. I know we did our Medicare series and we're gonna have Steve back just to finish out his thing. He just was on vacation and stuff, couldn't join us, but he definitely is gonna come back to finish out an episode or two.
Excellent.
What we talked about. So hang tight, everybody. He's going to be back, but just couldn't join us this week. But
Yeah.
he was
What
great, wasn't he?
what a
Great.
wealth of information that dude is, man.
Oh yeah,
Woo! So
absolutely.
good.
We got
So,
good stuff today too, even without Steve. We'll continue on.
yeah. Well,
We'll
I
try
know
to
you talked
cover-
about summertime and everything. It's been very beautiful out and everything. And speaking of beautiful, we're going to talk about something very beautiful today. And it's this new thing called I call it the Big Beautiful Bill. I'm sure it has some other names and things, but it's something that's come up that is really in the news and everything. It impacts retirement planning and different things. And I know for a fact, Johnny, you know a whole lot more about this big beautiful bill than I do. So why don't you explain it to us? What is it, and how can it affect us?
Well, the biggest bullet points of the big beautiful bill, why they wanted to really push us through, is really to extend the tax cuts that were passed in the 2017 law. Because if they weren't extended, man, everybody's taxes were going up. I know
Okay.
that certain political parties say, well, it's only for the rich. That wasn't true at all. It was across the board. No matter
Mm,
what your income bracket was, your taxes would have went up. So that's one of the biggest things that they wanted to really extend that and make those permanent. So it passed, and they were able to do that. But
okay.
what was within it is a couple things that go along with Social Security, which obviously affects everybody probably that's watching this or close, if you're in retirement age or close to it, just to be aware of what it's going to do. And it's good stuff, nothing bad. They didn't change anything like, they're lowering your Social Security, anything like that. Now, obviously, this obviously added money to the debt and everything. And we realize as Americans, especially in my age bracket, um, the next generation coming behind the baby boomers and retirees, our Social Security is going to be different. But all folks that are really close to retirement or already retired, they're not going to mess with yours. And I always say this in our seminars and classes. Really, it's because they're the biggest voting bloc still,
Well, yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
neither party wants to tick off that group, but
Right.
us, it's gonna happen. And which there's certain changes I'd be all for actually if we get
Mhm.
more control over our own money and things like that. Because Social Security wasn't really set up to be retirement, the end all be all, right?
Yeah.
It was a thing during the Great Depression they put just to help people out when it needed to be. But our mindset over the years has been, I got Social Security for my retirement. It's really meant to be like a supplemental minor part of it that goes along with it. But the problem is, so many Americans today, man, that's all they really truly rely on. And, that's where we are. But the big, beautiful bill, I can go over the tax situation and the Social Security stuff, how it really benefits most Americans across the board.
Yeah. Why don't you unpack those two big ones? I'm sure we may have another episode or two around this big beautiful thing, but talk about the impacts of taxes and Social Security and things of that nature, just at a high level.
Well, let's start with Social Security. And if
Okay.
we have to go next week into and the reason I say taxes are big, it's not only because how much money we get to keep, but also the concept of Roth conversions and all
Mm,
those type of things as we go into retirement, right?
okay.
So the Social Security aspect of this was currently Social Security was taxable. Not to get too deep in the woods, but if you made a certain amount of a formula called a combined income,
Mm-hmm.
which took Social Security, income, and a few other different things, and they put those together, if you were at certain numbers, your Social Security could be taxable. Now,
Okay.
most people were at those numbers. So, for instance, if you were a married couple, um, your Social Security could be taxed at 50% of it taxable, all the way up to 85% of it taxable. And that doesn't mean you're paying 50% taxes. Easy formula is if you made $1,000 a month in Social Security, $500 of it would be taxable at whatever
Okay.
bracket you're at. And 85% obviously would be $850 of it would be taxable. So once again, the goal of anybody's mindset during retirement should be maximize income, minimize taxes, right? So this bill will help in kind of both of those because when you keep more of your money, you're raising your income.
Right.
So what they've done now is they've got a $6,000 tax credit on your Social Security for a married couple, up to $150,000 of income, I believe is where it is. So if your Maggie adjusted gross income is 150,000 or under, you get a full $6,000 tax credit, which is
Okay.
going to take care of most taxes on Social Security. You know what I
Okay.
mean? Across the
Yeah.
board. Um, Above that, it starts to phase out. So, and if you're single, that's kind of right around half of that or so,
Okay.
obviously to do that too. But it phases out as it the more income you make. So eventually, you know, you don't get that bracket, which once again shows that lower and middle income America is really what this was targeted for. Now, the catch of this is this expires in 2028. So this wasn't able to be permanent. Okay.
Oh,
Which
interesting.
is
Okay.
something they're definitely going to work on, depending on how elections. Here we are, election talk again. We just had
Right.
one, but in another year, you're going to be in the middle of midterm elections, right?
Right. That's
So
right.
depending on how that goes and who wins and all that kind of stuff, this will probably come up, if not before, but this will probably come up again. So that is a few year window where we're going to have that extra money coming back on Social Security. So it
Okay.
does expire, but for right now, hey, everyone's going to get a little bit of a raise if you are having any of your Social Security taxable.
Yeah.
It's
And
really
that's
nice, right?
well, it is really nice. Yeah. And there's so many things in this that you hear on the news or social media or something that's so confusing, and that's why I just want people to remember to reach out to Johnny because you've got a wealth of knowledge. You've got people on your team that you can reach out to, and there's just so many moving parts and well how does this affect me and what does it do, and it's just understanding a little bit about this big beautiful bill is great, but understanding how it plays into the larger picture of creating a great retirement plan for your family is even better, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing to remember, and I'm sure if you pay any attention at all, you've heard, tax on tips and overtime and even interest on car loans, if it's made in America, can be tax deductible and all. So great things for the American middle class, but obviously it affects the debt, which maybe we'll talk about when we get into the
Hmm.
tax thing at next episode and what to be aware of there. But all those type of things were more temporary. The tax cuts are permanent, but the other ones they just could not make them permanent. Why? Because it would have made the deficit and the debt even higher. Which
Right.
once again, if you're under that probably 55, 50-year-old bracket right now, they're going to have to do something with social. It's just common sense, right? They're going to have to do something with entitlements and Social Security to be able to uh, save it or
Yeah,
adjust it,
absolutely.
which is why they couldn't make some of those things permanent at this time. So I think, and this is just guessing, you never know what's going to happen with politics, right, Mike? I mean, it's crazy, but the common sense says somebody eventually, it's going to take both parties working together too, are going to have to make some adjustments to Social Security.
Yeah.
And maybe at that point, some of these other things could become permanent.
Well, and that's a great point, Johnny. And as we wind up this episode, I think I want to make a big point right there, and you'll probably agree with me, is all the more reason for us younger folks who are, 50, 55, to really start planning our retirement so that we are not so dependent on Social Security. It becomes that ancillary thing so that when the changes happen, which they probably will in what, a decade, 15 years, it's not going to be a major impact on me because I'm not so reliant on it. But that comes from having a great plan that helps me retire at new heights, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And it all goes together, whether it's Social Security planning, how that taxes are affected with that, tax planning during retirement,
Mhm.
income planning. What do you want to be guaranteed? What do you want to be? It's all part of a thing. So I always say, remember, money is not retirement plan. It's not a retirement plan. A retirement plan includes money as part of it. It includes Social Security, like we talked about with Steve the last few weeks. It includes Medicare. All those things are part of a plan. And so you begin to zero in target. Okay, this is what my goal is with Social Security. This is what my goal is with income. This is what my goal is with investing. How I'm going to handle health insurance. And some of these things, if you are a little younger, you've got to prepare for the worst, because
Yeah,
and my mindset is, and just the way I am, man, is I I love our government, love our country, but I don't ever want to have to rely on them for
right,
the success or the support of my family.
right.
And that takes planning, and sometimes it takes a different mindset.
Yeah.
But with our debt getting so high and all these kind of things, that's just going to have to be a mindset a lot more people are going to have to take.
Yep.
You know,
Absolutely.
unfortunately, I'm just being honest. You know what I'm saying? And so
Well,
we've had a role here for years, but someone's going to catch up.
that's
And
right.
for us to still be successful, enjoy our retirement, and all those kind of things, we got to get all of our ducks in a row across the board.
That's right.
And ducks for not relying on outside government entities or anything like that.
That's right. No, I think that's good. I can't wait to the next episode. We're going to talk more about this big, beautiful bill, how it affects taxes and things in retirement, because that's the more you save in taxes, the more income you can have because the more money you've got. So there's a lot here, but I want our audience to understand they can reach out to you, Johnny, because you and your team are diving into this. You've got the resources, you've got the people who can help understand this big, beautiful act and how it applies to each individual client that you serve. And that's what people really need to understand is don't listen to the hoopla on TV, on social media. Reach out to the expert, Johnnie Roberts, and help him, let him help you understand how this big, beautiful act can help you have a big, beautiful retirement. So, Johnny, I can't wait to talk
Appreciate it.
more about this
Yes,
on the next episode, buddy. You take care.
we
Have a
will.
great
You
week.
too.